Welcome to Knicks.com. Jonah Ballow here with Josh Longstaff. It is time to preview the contest against the Charlotte Hornets. Now, a rematch. What a wild game that was. And, take us into the film session for assistant coaches. What happens when you face a squad and then, in a pretty short time span, you're going to battle against them again? What do the coaches do in terms of film preparation?
Well, I mean, we like to look at what we did in that game, what we could have done better. Obviously, the ending was wild with Chris's shot and not counting and so on and so forth. But we'll look at the little plays throughout the game that we didn't make. And we'll also look at what did work against them, what didn't, both offensively and defensively.
Are there some things that you just do not want your team to see, and there's some things you do want them to really focus on in terms of a particular game that either went well or did not go well?
I mean, yeah, we always, Coach Fisher emphasizes certain things offensively and defensively that we like to hammer on all year long. So we'll look at those things and how we did in those areas, but we'll also look at just, improvements that we can make from the last game as a coaching staff that necessarily won't go to the players, and then we'll take bits and pieces of that information and present it to the players.
Any teaching points from that game that you saw in the contest against Charlotte?
I mean, there's a few. We could play a little more physical. They're a space and movement team. They move the ball very well. They move their players very well. So I think not letting them roam so freely may be an adjustment we could make to try to slow them down.
The first time to see this team on their home floor, Nicholas Batum makes a big difference. Lamb makes a big difference as well. Jeremy Lin had a pretty solid game. Seems like they're a much more offensive explosion type of team that can affect that side of the floor where, maybe last year was Al Jefferson, plotting team, defensive minded. Have you seen those changes as well?
Yeah, I mean, they've changed how they played a little bit. Like I said, they're moving the ball more, and they're, I think, more balanced is what you were saying with their roster. And then you add a guy like Jeremy Lamb coming off the bench, really helps their scoring, and as well as Jeremy Lin helps their scoring as well. So I think they're more balanced this year. And then you add Al Jefferson as an inside presence, and it really makes him a tough cover.
Yeah, he's coming off a monster game as well. Same with Nicholas Batum. He performed, really well in their last contest against the Blazers. So now when you look at this matchup coming up after a really nice win at the Garden, do you feel this team gaining some momentum? We're starting to see Carmelo put together some really good games in the past 5 where he's averaging 26, grabbing 7 boards. That's got to be a positive sign for this team.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Carmelo goes, I mean, he's doing a good job of letting the game come to him. He's getting his shots out of our offense. We're moving the ball from side to side and moving the defense, which is allowing him to get easy shots, high-quality shots, and he's making them. As far as our offense goes for this game, we just got to keep doing the things that we've been working on, and ball movement, player movement, spacing, hitting the first open man, and hopefully, things will work out.
Have you seen some growth in areas in terms of triangle offense, whether they understand when to get into that offense in the half-court set, or just get into the flow, maybe run some high pick and rolls or transition opportunities?
Yeah, I think the more the guys are playing together and the different lineups that Coach Fisher is putting out there, learning what works well with each other. We have a couple lineups that we may go small and we want to play a little bit faster, but we're learning to explore and play freely, but then also when to format into our offense, and how to kind of get into that spacing. And once we do get into that spacing and we start moving the ball, we're really tough to guard.
In terms of matching up against another team, I know everybody likes to say we do what we do and then we try to force the other team, but there's got to be some give and pull there, right? I mean, when do you match up against a team like the Hornets can do and go somewhat big in the backcourt? They can have a big post presence there with Al Jefferson. So at what point do you try to figure a way to defend that, or go with what you have in terms of the best offensive lineup that you can bring out?
Well, as far offensively, it doesn't really change the way we play. Big, small, it doesn't really matter. We have our format, and we have different calls out of our format that we would run against a bigger lineup or a smaller lineup. But I think defensively is where we really need to hone in. And when they're big, we have certain coverages. When they're small, we have another set of coverages, and it's really important for us to communicate those out so that everybody's on the same page. So for us, the communication part really comes in when they start switching the lineups up.
We look at the stats page, right? who do we have at number 2 in the league in three-point shooting is Langston Galloway. And he was number 1 at one point too. For a coaching staff and for a guy who's been around him, to see him come from the D-League, come up through your system, and now perform at this level, and it's not just the three-point shooting, it's both sides of the floor, it's getting to the rack, it's all these different factors. To see him have success on a consistent basis, what does that mean for you guys to see what he's doing on the floor?
I mean, a guy like Langston, the players and the coaching staff knows he's the ultimate professional. He really put in his time this summer. He got stronger. He worked on his shooting. He worked on his game. He spent a lot of time here in New York. He's really kind of an example for guys in the D-League and guys that are kind of fringe NBA players, that you can make it if you are a professional and you have consistent habits. Langston's habits are incredible. And as far as the game goes, offensively, you know, his teammates are really doing a good job getting him those open looks. We knew coming into this year with the roster that we had that he was going to get a lot of open three-point shots, and it was important for him to make them, and so far he's making those.
Yeah, you see it with Jaren Grant. When he's paired with him in the backcourt, Jaren's getting to the lane and finding him in the corners or potential three-point shots. It's great to see. You know, as far as momentum goes, this team 5-6. It took a while to get to the 6 wins last year, so some progress here. How's the vibe inside that locker room?
Oh, it's great. I mean, we've been in pretty much every game. We've had a tough schedule to this point. All the teams that we've played have been good teams, and you know, the vibe has been great. The players are very coachable. They all like each other. The chemistry is really good, and you know, we're just trying to get better every day. That's Coach Fisher's philosophy: is one day at a time, try to get better each day, and then see where it takes us.
Great stuff as always. Revenge on the line at MSG. We're going to get him back for the one in Charlotte. Appreciate the time. Haircut's looking good.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
There he is, Josh Longstaff, right here on Knicks.com.